This is the Adriatic Sea in the country of Montenegro. These are the Dolomites in the Italian Alps. This is the main piazza at night in Trieste. Piazza means plaza in Italian. This is San Canito. It's an old medieval town in what's known as the Tyrol, which used to be part of Austria until the end of World War I. It was given to Italy. Just looking south there, off in the distance of the mountains in which battle took place between the Italian army and the Austrian army, 1916 to 1918. This is the beginning of approximately 1 mile long of lights along a big long street, celebrating the Virgin Mary. This is Villa d'Este. It's the estate of a cardinal in the middle 1500s. Very rich one. Quite a palace built here, as well as a considerable number of water gardens. It's about 25 miles east of Rome, which is off in a distance. Here's an unusual statue in the town of Podgorica, Montenegro. Looks like it must be a group of dancers. Down in the city of Pristina, the country of Kosovo. This very strange building is their national library. Built in 1982. is now the Messiah volcano, active volcano. It's a long ways down there. This is a Roman gate in the city of Trieste, Italy. This is built in the 1st century BC. So it's over 2,100 years old. This is the Diocletian Palace, built by the Romans in the 2nd century. The city of Split, Croatia. People live in there today. Still a little farther up the road. It's quite a place here. Still farther up now. Taking it to pass at 7,300 feet. Outside that meat market now is this courtyard. The old church stands. This is the Cathedral of Trieste. Stems from the 1400s. It says here had some work done in 1813. Still over 200 years ago. Top of a pass. town called Tina, Italy. This is now the inside of the church. This is one of the many entrances to the inside. It's a big, huge place. This is now called the Tyrol, part of northern Italy, which used to be part of Austria until 1919, after World War I. I'm now in the small town of Ohrid. A lot of old churches in this town. This is St. Sophia Cathedral in the 11th century. This is a picture of what it looked like. It was used by kings in the Middle Ages as a palace. This is a World War I monument. It's called the Liberation, where Italy was liberated from the Austrians and the Germans in that war. This is the Castello di San Giusti, built from 1470s to 1650s. In the foreground is Roman ruins. And there, as seen before, is the Cathedral of San Giusti. Here's the remains of a Roman theater from the 1st century AD. Fairly small compared to most I've seen. I'm inside a park now. It's a huge 80-foot tree. I'm still on the city wall now, looking down. Here now is Dubrovnik on a nice sunny morning with no tourists. So it's 7:45 in the morning. This is now the fort between the town and the sea that I'm going into next. This is the best view of all, taken from the top of the fort.
Nee, aber irgendwann hört ja dann das Filmband auf, sozusagen, und keine Ahnung,
Volcano that was become extinct and now filled up with water. Now in the small town of Ohrid, on the western edge of Macedonia, on the border with Albania. A lot of old churches, including this one here, St. Sophia's Cathedral from the 11th century. This is taken along the Adriatic Sea in the country of Croatia. And this is famous Dubrovnik, a city built in the 9th century. It's a walled city, no cars are allowed inside. Tons of tourists. Now inside the town, this fountain was built in 1438. There's a Franciscan monastery. Inside is a third world oldest pharmacy. Operating since the 1390s. This view looks up the main street to the other end. The clock tower, 150 yards away. Here's a very long and a very steep walkway way down to the bottom. Here's now the fortress of Skopje, Macedonia, early in the morning. The city dates to the 3rd century BC. Eventually the Romans conquered it. and built this theater. There used to be 10 more rows in front, but they tore them out so they could have gladiator fights. This is now outside of the city, the other end I come in from, looking at the city walls. Part of the city. This is now the very outer wall towards the Adriatic Sea. Whoa! Almost got drowned. Big wave. Here's the old cathedral that was partly destroyed in 1972. It had 3 different color schemes on it. Change every few seconds. Change it out to a pink, and it goes to a blue. Fireworks in the background. Now here's Dubrovnik, lighted up at night. Over there is the main entrance. And right nearby is the old presidential palace. It's the offices of the president, built in 1935. This is the view of Dubrovnik from atop the city walls. And there's the Adriatic across, which is Italy. Another nice view off the wall. Late afternoon now, and there's serenading going on by a couple of musicians. This is the St. Nikolai Cathedral in the city of Bar. It's part of the Orthodox Church. This view is now from the top of the wall from the other side. Much better view. Looking out towards the Adriatic. This is the best view of the town now because it's taken from the fort, the highest point above the town.
Thank you very much.
And here's the inside. Quite beautiful. So here is the city walls with the main gate. This is the entryway. On the Muslim quarter of the city of Podgorica, the country of Montenegro. This is originally a Roman town, taken over by the Ottoman Turks, Muslims in the 1300s. Lots of old buildings here, bright colors. There's another rather brightly colored house. Here's some old ruins from an unknown time of a fortification along the main river through the town of Podgorica. There are more of the castle walls up at the very top of the hill. And the hill slopes down to Lake Ohrid. It is a very beautiful lake. It's 1,000 feet deep, third deepest lake in Europe. Caused by plate tectonic action. This is now taken inside of a mosque, a Muslim mosque. It is the outside of that mosque. Another old church from medieval times. Bordivicia per Violetta is the name of it. This is taken from the old castle. Look out to the Adriatic Sea. View. Now the ancient city of Olsztynia, stemming from Roman times. It's on the border of Albania and Montenegro. In the 1600s, this was a favorite place for pirates to hang out. There was a lot of slave trading being done here too. There's a little different view of the same area. In the background is the Muslim call of prayer. Lots of Muslims live here. That's where the racket's coming from. Yet another mosque. Now Carsomoil's castle from the 10th century.
Едно. Само едно избери си едно. Календар.
The castle on top of a hill in the town of Shkodor, the country of Albania. This is a pedestrian street or mall in the city of Shkodor, Albania. The cathedral in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, in the 1800s. This is the view now from inside the fortress. This is now the center of Skopje, Macedonia. This is an old stone bridge. Don't know how old. On the other side of the river, a series of relatively new buildings. Quite nice looking. It's now the City Museum. It used to be the train station until July 27th, 1963, when the clock stopped at 5:17 in the morning, when an earthquake destroyed this building and it killed 1,000 people in the town. There's Lake Ohrid, turquoise colored water. This is Sveti Jovan, or St. Jovan Church, very small church from the 13th century. This is an Orthodox church, which is close to renovation.
Bajo la cañada no te importo nada cuando estoy aquí. Pero visto nada más por las madrugadas sin poderte ver. Llego a tu rancho. Quelle rouge neige rouge, metale su notre zone.
There's the church now taken from below. This is the first of many water gardens in the villa. And now I'm in Rome. Looking at the magnificent Colosseum from the 1st century. It's the old part of the town where there are lots of crooked streets, easy to get lost. There's a mosque.
Aldın mı şeyleri? Ha. Onu yiyeceğiz onu ne alasın? Ne bileyim o.
In the high part of the town, now this is the fortress. Was 1,000 years old. There's a barber shop. 3 guys inside getting shaves. This is the view from close up now. Probably about 60 or 70 feet high. There's a view of the bridge now. I was told it's about 1,000 years old. Across there in the distance, top of a hill. Supposedly the tallest cross in the world, over 300 feet high. The water fountain that doesn't seem to be on right now. This is the interior of the mosque. This view now is from the top of the bridge, looking down river. There's a water fountain in it. Now this is looking up the bridge. And way off the distance is a pretty nice looking building as well. You get another view of the castle or the fortress farther up the river. Even better view. Here's yet another impressive building at night. Some kind of government building with a flag on top of it. Maybe it's their Congress. This is the front view of the legislative body of Macedonia. On the right is one of the houses, and the left is another. I'm inside a huge marketplace for vegetables and what have you. Enormous number of stalls. This view is now from about a quarter of the way around. Indented there. A little farther on here, they're selling different kinds of stuff. Potatoes. This is known as a dairy store. Right here on the street corner is a bunch of goats and he sells milk. This is the Cathedral of San Salvador in the country of El Salvador. It's recently completed in 1999. This is a fountain here at the top. I think it was Alexander the Great. He came from Macedonia. All the yelling over there is over a shell game. Guy had a plaid shirt running the shell game. The other guy thought he was cheating. That's the interior where all the dying took place. December 6th, 2017. I'm in downtown Managua, Nicaragua. The big Virgin Mary Festival today and tomorrow. Well, here's the Coliseum lighted up at night. With nice background music, guy playing a guitar. This is now the inside of the Coliseum. Coliseum was started in 72 AD and finished 8 years later. It held about 70,000 spectators. There was a floor covering this. This is the basement you're looking at where all the animals were stored. The gladiators would wait to come to the floor. The outer wall on the left side, which you just saw, disappeared sometime over the years. Now at the first level, and this is the basement, are the storage areas. The animals and this gladiators waited. There's a floor here covered in sand. This now is inside here at the east side of the Coliseum. There's a floor covering up this area here where the animals and gladiators would wait to rise to the top. The floor was covered with sand. It was down about 40 feet deep. Coliseum was about 700 feet long, 500 feet wide, so it's oval shaped. I'm back outside again of the Coliseum, which is originally called the amphitheater for about the first 400 or 500 years. When this was inaugurated in 80 AD, they had 100 days of games in which 10,000 people were killed in it. This is the Arch of Constantine. Constantine was the emperor in the 300s. He converted to Christianity. Constantinople was named after him. Off to the left here is the beginning of the Roman Forum, center of Rome. It's a close-up now of the Arch of Constantine. – 1,600 years old. Moving to the left here of the Forum is what's called Palatine Hill. That's where the emperors would live. It's one of the 7 hills of Rome. This is the Roman Forum. Center of ancient Rome. hill off in the distance is called Capitol Hill. It's now heading towards the Forum. And this is now the inside of the Roman Forum. Center of ancient Rome. The very end is the center where Caesar was killed. This was a temple built by the Romans. After 1,000 years, debris had filled up about 40 feet deep. So they left columns out there and built a church inside of it. So from about halfway up, this is all filled up with debris around. And it was a cow pasture until 1902 when it was excavated. This is all that's left of the Temple of Venus. Most of the temples were torn apart to build churches and other materials in the Dark Ages, Middle Ages. Now this is considered to be the center of the Forum. Somewhere right around here is where Julius Caesar was killed in 44 BC. The Triennial Forum, 300 yards away from the main forum. Appears these columns here have been reconstructed with bricks fitting in the missing pieces.
When they say Romans, is it Rome or?
And this is a triennial column. The church behind.
Por la gracia reservada del Altísimo inminente, alabemos a María, Madre del Omnipotente. Dios te salve, Madre hermosa, Madre de Dios consagrada, pues la tienes reservada. Trinidad misteriosa.
Here's the Arch of Constantine. With a bit of the moon out. Stairs lead to the top of Capitoline Hill. These sculptures are from Roman times. This is the top of Capitoline Hill. Buildings from the 1800s. That's the Capitoline Museum. Here's that Roman sculpture. There's a memorial building to Vittorio. This system is quite incredible. There is a whole row, 94 of these faces spouting out water. And each one seems to be different. And that water is fed from the upper level here. In 1564, water was piped here from 1,000 feet away up the hillside by a big pipe. The water system was redone in the early 1600s. From that previous system, they walk up the steps to the villa, but then immediately come across this other water system. It's a stone boat. And here again is the Roman Forum, now from the top of Capitoline Hill. Right about there is where Caesar was killed. And about 2/3 of a mile away there is the Colosseum. And off on right there is Palatine Hill, where the leaders and their emperors lived. Here's the monument to Vittorio Emanuele, the man who in the late 1800s united the Italian states into one country. This is a close-up of it. And at the lower front of that building is a waterfall. Now a little farther on down that long line to 94 water spouts coming out. Looking to a huge waterfall at the very end. And they're looking down the slope. Two more big ones coming up. This is the Forum at night. Not one person around. And off in a distance, at least a half mile away, is the Forum and the Arch of Constantine. bright lights. Good at that building dedicated to Victor Emanuele, the guy who united the Italian states in the 1800s to form a modern Italy. Maybe something different. This is an old Roman building that was excavated in the 1930s when they were tearing down some big Renaissance buildings that were built in the 1700s. They were torn down. They found that there were 4 stories here, and looking down below here, about 40 feet down, are shops, retail shops. The living area is up at the top. There's frescoes, painting on plaster. This main street there, about a mile long, space dedicated to Virgin Mary. It's the other side of the street. And then directly behind it is that modern building dedicated to the founder of Italy. There's a rather large water system. It's about 15, 18 feet tall. This is one of the more famous in Rome, named San Giovanni, or Saint Giovanni. It's about maybe a couple miles away from the center of Rome. This is the outer entrance to the church. This is the main part of the church. It's quite an impressive church. This is the very front of the church. The altar. There are 2 main side areas to the church, paralleling the front. This is now to the left of the main altar. This is now the very front of the church. And this now is on the right side of the altar, with the organ up above. So looking down the main street now, about a mile up, they've all these displays. This fountain was built between 1566 and 1570. Water flowing out of a large cup, which is fed by water from the hillside above. This now is a view of that fountain from above. The fountain is called the Fountain of Tivoli. That's the large cup there. Oh, this is not much of a water system. This is the outside of a wall of a building adjacent to the property.
Yeah.
It's a big courtyard here. And it swings around. It's a very large water system. About 40 feet below. Then leads to a rectangular pool. It's taken up there about 15 feet higher. It's a terrace. And so there's now water coming down this very steep slope. The water jets be shooting out of there. Flows over about a 25-foot high cascade. More water jets are blasting it up about 50 feet higher than I am. Now beneath that big terrace. There are 3 coves here. Each one inside has a separate water feature. There's the second cove. There's the view of the villa, way high up there. The waterfall we just saw is behind there. We'll come to the base of it soon. Here's the big fall from the very bottom. It's 50 feet high. View now from the side. Kids are washing windows to get money. Street corner dedication to Che Guevara, mass murderer of Cuba. Now this view is taken from the end of the pool, about 250 feet away. Here are two much smaller systems close to each other. Quite a ways away from the major waterfalls. There's a small little system at the edge of the property. It appears to me this is supposed to be a many-breasted woman. Another little tiny water system here in a courtyard. Villa up at the top of the hill. A major water system over there. This is what's called a rill. The water flows down a series of steps. It's a rather magnificent system. A very mossy centerpiece. Big high water jets on both sides. And another rill. This is a very small system. Inside of a big architectural structure. Stairs coming down. There's another water system that doesn't seem to be functioning. This is St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. There's the Basilica itself. Vatican Museum is there behind and to the right. That's what's called the old cathedral. That's been occupied since 1972. The earthquake did a lot of damage to it, wiped out much of the rest of the city.
Sol valioso, contigo corazón.
And there's old Hugo Chavez, socialist dictator of Venezuela, died 4 years ago. There's the last one.
La tierra entera ha contemplado la victoria de nuestro Dios. Que todos los pueblos y naciones aclamen con júbilo al Señor.
Now about to leave Managua, Colectivo, a little van. Was the city of Granada, but all 15 minutes away. Cost me $1 to take it. The side streets of Granada. Poor horsey. Here they're drying coffee beans in the open air. Nice old church here. 1524. A lot of destruction, 1820s during the revolution against Spain. That's the cathedral off in the distance there. the American had destroyed this as part of a support of the president who was being thrown out of power.
Family Pela. You know Family Pela? He's creator of Juan Flor de Caña, Beer Victoria. This is person very much.
Hundreds of islands out here. Every island owned by rich dudes. Coffee traders. Now in the colonial town of Granada, established in the 1540s. But it was largely destroyed on fire by America in 1856. This is the Church of La Merced, built in the 1500s, largely destroyed in 1857 and rebuilt in 1862. Each of these islands was made by the explosion of the volcano nearby. A view of Granada from the bell tower. There's a huge volcano off in the distance. A big volcano in the background. Going through all the water weeds here. Now in the city of Leon, the capital for 200 some years. Getting a little bike ride. Bike's right ahead of me. Built in 1874. This is the old arsenal of colonial days. Up of the building called the Museum of Revolution. A lot of fighting took place here in 1979 into the mid-1980s. The Sandinista rebels overthrew the dictators of the Somoza family, supported by the U.S. since the 1930s. Daniel Ortega led this revolution, and was opposed by the Contra rebels, which were supported somewhat by President Reagan in the Iran deal, where he sold weapons to Iran to earn money to support these rebels who were fighting the Ortega group. This little shop here where they're making cigars. So that's the beginning of the cigar making. And this woman over here finishes it. Part of the Christmas celebration here. A rather large statue of woman, almost 3 stories high. It said their capital of the revolution, Leon. This is the Cathedral of Granada. Last construction was between 1905 and 1915. Built originally in the 1700s. Out of destruction, 1857. More Christmas decorations nearby. And there's the cathedral there. First built in the 1500s. It's an outside restaurant. Here now is the cathedral, built in 1747, at least originally. Church that was destroyed in 1856 in Granada by William Walker, reconstructed after that. This is a garden restaurant. And this is the interior.
Derrama el efecto de gracia, de tu llama de amor sobre toda la humanidad, ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amén. Creo en Dios Padre Todopoderoso, Creador del cielo y de la tierra.
Deep red building here in the corner. Off at a distance, another church.
Thank you.